Now that's significant. The Market Research Podcast.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining us on this latest episode of Now That's Significant, a market research podcast. This is your host, Michael Howard. Today, we're joined by Lilah Raynor, CEO and founder of Logica Research, a full-service strategic marketing research agency providing research to organizations to drive decisions and improve people's financial lives. Lilah has over 25 years of experience in marketing research in the financial services industry. She and her team bring expertise in financial services, financial technology, and the future of work in consumer and B2B research to every project. Lilah and her team are relentlessly curious about people's decision-making around money, with research conducted for their clients often being published in the world's largest media outlets. Logica Research is the author of the Future of Money study, which has been running since 2017 and is launching the Future of Money Insights Kits this year to make the study insights accessible to organizations to use in their own strategic decision-making. With all that, thanks for joining us on the show today, Lilah.
Thanks so much, Michael, for having me on the podcast. I'm looking forward to talking to you today.
Yes. So what's the most significant thing you're going to tell us today?
Well, I'd like to talk today about how quickly the future of money is changing. Really, we like to say the future is now, with rapid changes in how people make money, spend it, save it, and invest it. And this also means that with this rapid change for companies and organizations, they need to provide financial services and technology to consumers and businesses at a faster rate than ever. I've even heard that some people say that every company is a fintech company now, because anybody who's buying or selling anything has to figure out ways to pay, and that's changing very quickly, as we all know.
It is indeed, especially when you consider the rise of DeFi or decentralized finance, cryptocurrencies, etc. So with that, do you mind telling us a little more about Logica Research and your areas of expertise?
Yeah, absolutely. And you bring up a totally relevant point, because it is changing so fast. And I think we're all kind of wondering what's going to happen with cryptocurrencies. And so we study all aspects of money. We like to call it the life cycle of the dollar, and taking a 360-degree view of how people think about money, or the money mindset. And so this includes how people make money, or the future of work, how we spend it, such as payments, how we save it, like personal finance and debt, and how we invest it. And my personal background is in financial services. I was a director at Schwab, managing the marketing research group there before I founded and started Logica Research. And I work with this incredible team at Logica with deep experience and expertise in financial services, which extends from even education, as we think about financial inclusion and access to education, to work, to saving, investing, debt, credit, insurance, and all aspects around money. We help companies understand how people make decisions around money, whether it's consumer or business-to-business decisions. And this can be making decisions around attending college and the cost of college, how they perceive education and educational brands, to messages for B2B payments products, value propositions for digital asset products, thought leadership, research, and PR for personal finance or wealth management. And, back to cryptocurrency, one of the things that we see in our Future of Money study is that, for example, 2/3 of millennials are saying they will own cryptocurrency in the next 5 years. And they're the biggest generation, or the most bullish generation around cryptocurrency, but we see a lot of interest and engagement around cryptocurrency as an investment. And I think we're going to start seeing more and more around payments as well.
True, especially since you can buy your own Tesla now with them as well. So
yes, yeah, so, exactly.
Interesting that it has actually crept into the world of commerce, and that it is a lot more tangible now than it ever used to.
Yeah, and lots of people I know with teenagers are getting asked by their teenagers if they can buy Bitcoin, and yeah, it's really popularized for sure.
Yeah, true. So what drives your curiosity around the money mindset?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was one of those people who was always trying to figure out how to make money, even as a little kid with my lemonade stand and my paper route. But my educational background is in psychology, and I'm very interested in how people make decisions in general. But when you couple that with decision around money, I think if I went back to school today, I'd probably study behavioral economics and financial decision making. But out of grad school, I didn't want to be an academic. I wanted to put my skills to practical use. And so I kind of fell into financial services, and I found it really complex and intellectually challenging. And I would say now, in the last 5 to 10 years, it's even more interesting, more challenging. It feels like there's exponential change in the industry. And I also have a personal interest in improving financial inclusion and access to financial services. I like being able to apply that social science, research design background and education with my purpose of improving people's financial lives to the work we do every day for clients. So the financial services industry is just more complex and dynamic than ever, and understanding people's decision-making and perceptions is needed in every aspect of products and services that are getting offered and how they're communicated. Companies need to work extra hard to be able to communicate these products and the risk and rewards of them to the consumer. So we're here to help with that, and I like doing that.
True, and also navigating the complex legislation that they all have to adhere to as well. It's not an easy minefield to go through, but I guess when you have that clear direction and research to back up what you're doing going forward, it can definitely make that easier.
Yeah, for sure.
You conduct your own Future of Money study, as we've talked about. It's with about 5 years of data to explore and analyze. You must have some pretty interesting findings from it. Do you mind telling us a bit more about the study?
Yeah, we launched this study in 2017, the Future of Money study, and we have historically conducted it semi-annually with a wave in the spring and a wave in the fall. And then in 2020, with the onset of the pandemic, we did a couple of extra waves. People's personal financial situations were changing so quickly, and their attitudes and behaviors were changing. We wanted to understand that, and we wanted to be able to share those results with our clients and the industry so that they could adjust and adapt quickly. So starting in 2020, I would say we've seen a big shift. And of course, we're all familiar with how people were initially not able to save. They were dipping into their expenses. They were really sort of crowdsourcing advice. And then we found that a certain percentage of the population, those who had a decrease in their expenses but had income coming in, they were able to start saving. So we see those saving rates come up. And then, the investing population started to increase as people had more access and more time. Some people who might have been, some people have this hypothesis that people who were watching sports and more involved in sports, when they had more time on their hands, they started to invest. So we started to see a lot of changes in behavior, as well as what people are looking for from financial brands really changed, and what people were looking for from employers really changed. So employees wanted to start seeing more help from their employers financially, not just in terms of compensation, but actually just actual practical help in terms of managing their money, planning, having a budget, getting financial advice. And the way that people were looking for financial brands to communicate also changed, in some ways similar to other brands, but being more values oriented and being on their side really changed and got articulated differently during the pandemic. So yeah, it's been a really interesting time. Sometimes people tell us we kind of serve as a crystal ball to see where trends are heading, which we love to hear. And we want companies to use the results from the Future of Money study to inspire new product and service innovation and communicate and market more effectively.
Sure. So you generate and share insights around how people make, spend, and save money and invest it as well. You briefly touched on a few, but what were some of your most interesting insights that you've seen from the most recent studies?
Yeah, so we asked this last wave, which was in the fall of 2021, we asked some questions around retirement. And one of the questions we asked was around if people intended to do more income generating activity in retirement. And most people, the majority of people, plan to actually keep working in some way when they retire. That maybe not be that surprising. We've seen that retirement age kind of inch up. But what's different about our findings is when we ask, when you retire from your main career, what do you plan on doing? And we saw the top three things are having a side hustle. So different from, say, part-time work, people who have a side hustle who are renting on Airbnb or doing different kinds of aspects of the share economy or gig work, part-time work. But then in third place was actually generating income from short-term investing. So, and with those activities, they think they can extend their true retirement age by about 5 years. So that's for a lot of people who want to retire around 60, that might bring them to 65 or so. And then, as I mentioned, we saw some really, we saw people being very positive and bullish around crypto, particularly Gen Z and millennials who plan to invest in crypto in the next 5 years. And there's a lot more where that came from as well. In general, we just saw investing go up, and that people also look to multiple sources for advice. So traditional financial institutions, financial advisors, but they're also, especially the younger generations, Gen Z, maybe not so surprising, but important to pay attention to, is that they're really sort of crowdsourcing advice from their friends and family, more so than older generations. And I definitely want to applaud and recognize the team at Logica who puts a lot of the time and energy into making sure that we ask questions that are going to get at these new insights and trends that we see in the study. They do a lot of work.
It is quite an interesting space, isn't it? If people are more and more looking to their peers for advice and recommendations on things, you've got these advisors who like they do this for a job, like that. There's an interesting dynamic between the two, aren't there? Obviously one has to be registered, one isn't. So you're getting it.
Yeah. I think we might be seeing this, the younger generation in general, crowdsourcing advice, right? And getting their education from a lot of non-traditional sources.
Yeah.
And so I think that's partly what you see. We did kind of a special report on Gen Z. And one of the things that we see with Gen Z, we call them really resourceful or scrappy generation. And so for those older Gen Zers who are maybe in college or just getting their first job during the pandemic, they got exposed to a lot more maybe information and opportunity to invest or manage their finances out of necessity, but also having time maybe in a different way. And they're resourceful in the sense that they talk to friends and family, but they also look to traditional financial institutions and advisors. And they're not super judgmental about where that advice comes from, but really, I would say, have some discernment at a young age as to what to pay attention to. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. And then the challenge, I guess, for companies is how can you work in that environment to leverage off both of those different sources?
Yeah, for sure. It creates a new marketing challenge and communication challenge for companies. Yeah,
that's right. So have there been any findings that have just taken you by surprise from the research study?
Yeah, I think sometimes, research really validates what we think we know already. But what I would say is we see people really looking for more money management advice and help from their employers than I would have anticipated. In the past, what we saw in our research and working with at Schwab in the past is that people really wanted to keep their finances separate from from their employers, but now employers are seen as a resource, and especially for younger generation. So they want help with budgeting. They want help with choosing investments. They definitely want help with retirement planning, kind of in all aspects, like knowing how much to save, knowing what to invest in. And so it's a real opportunity, I think, for employers to offer more financial wellness help. And definitely employees are interested in having that.
Very cool. Thinking about either the findings that you've just mentioned or even more generally, how does the work that you do for clients change the way they work or even relate to their business as part of an insights function?
Well, what we'd like to be able to do, because we really specialize in financial services and fintech, is everybody on the team has financial services experience and background. So we're able to really jump in where our clients are. And, if our clients have people on staff who don't have that financial services experience, we can bring that to them and bring the insights a lot further along than maybe a generalist company. Plus, part of the reason we do the Future of Money study is that we can see, with that crystal ball where things are headed and be able to surface those new insights and ask the right questions.
Oh, cool. One of the beliefs that we have at InfoTools is that people who are making decisions are far better served when they have access to explore consumer insights themselves, even if the heavy lifting is done by their insights team. So the Future of Money Insights Kit that you're launching soon it takes a similar approach to this. Can you tell us how that works?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the InfoTools idea and philosophy there. So Future Money Study, we have been doing and releasing results in the past, and we've had so much engagement with the results from our ongoing study from clients and from the community that we wanted to be able to turn it into a more accessible tool for our clients. And so we are launching the Future of Money Insights Kit so that clients can use the results to help inform strategy and for their own content. And so with that kit, they'll have access to the full results and generational trend findings and trends over the last few years. They'll also have access to us as analysts to help answer questions and even be able to put some of their own custom questions in the study. And so with that, they'll get a lot of that forward-thinking consumer money mindset at a really good value compared to if they were to try to do this on their own. And we have seen clients use the results already in strategic decks that they're putting together, content on their website and white papers and so on. So we're excited to be launching that in the next couple of months.
Exciting. So we'll keep an eye out.
Yes, yeah.
And in addition to your extensive work in this financial market research space, a little birdie told me you also do quite a bit of pro bono work as well. If you want something done, I guess you give it to a busy person.
Yes, yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about the work that you do in this space?
Yeah, absolutely. So we pick at least one pro bono project a year to do. In the last couple of years, 3 to 5 years, we've done more than that. Especially with COVID. I mean, one of the things about the pandemic is that, we went back to what do we really like to do? We like to do research. We like to understand how people make decisions and how can we do that, especially in 2020, and bring insights back to the research community and back to our clients to help them navigate that time. So we've done more research in the last couple of years because of that. So one of the studies we've done is with WIRE, or Women in Research Organization, on what makes a great place to work for researchers. And then we looked at in 2020 the impact of COVID on researchers and American workers, and really surfaced that priorities for researchers and American workers is alignment with core values of the companies that they work with, oftentimes even more than some of the financials around compensation. And those values are really important. And we also, saw some of the things that we started to see in the general media around the importance of understanding the pressure that parents were under during COVID in terms of managing children at home and work.
Some people, I guess, had to work or fit in 80 hours of work into a 40-hour week.
Yes, yeah.
While parenting and not so.
Yeah. So companies who could navigate those situations well and really be on the side of their employees were, had more satisfied employees, basically. Yeah. And we also saw that, lots of change that we were seeing, a lot of transition in the industry before, 2021 as well. So, and then we did a study for Commonwealth, which is an organization that is focused on financial inclusion. And we did a study among low and moderate income working women to understand opportunities to help them build wealth and their investing experience and how to provide more education and advice to give them wealth building opportunities. That was super interesting. And then we became involved with the Insights Association Idea Council last year. And that is part of the Insights Association that is focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion within the Insights organization. And they have really two primary priorities. One is on the profession, so helping increase inclusion in the profession among researchers. And the other is research on research. And that is, how do we ask demographic questions? How do we make research results themselves more inclusive? And so this has really been a collaborative effort with other people on the Idea Council and a lot of different groups within the industry and different companies that are giving their time and their resources pro bono to have a better understanding of how we ask more inclusive and sensitive demographic questions so that we get diverse groups and inclusive feedback on our surveys. So right now, we're actually just launched this week a study of testing 10 different ways to ask race and ethnicity to understand which one or ones are most inclusive, which are preferred, and how that relates to sample frames and the traditional census question. This is just in the United States, but it's a place to start. So we love doing that kind of work, and it's
So just quickly, that point that you're doing with the Idea Council, I think that in itself would be an interesting podcast. So we'll have to get you back on the show to dive into that one. Very pertinent subject.
For sure. We will have results out later this spring, and it's going to be super interesting. So I think, all of this is about giving back to the community and being, generous in that way, but also part of our purpose of improving financial inclusion and giving access to services for everyone. So we're excited to be part of that as well.
It would definitely make for a really interesting tracking study just to see all of the people that you've helped lift their financial well-being. Good work. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah. So if I can quickly recap what we've talked about today, the role of research in understanding the financial needs and consumer behavior of people, especially in the face of such unprecedented change we've experienced over the last couple of years. From technology to ways of working to all sorts in there. We've covered how research is able to dramatically improve the financial well-being and therefore the lives of people when organizations put such research to use rather than leaving it in PowerPoint presentations, collecting dust, etc. So it's really great to see people actually getting out there and putting the work that you're doing, etc., to very good use. We talked about the Future of Money study as well, which has helped track those said changes and also launch the impending launch of the Insights Kit. So it's going to be really interesting to see how people will be analysing the findings that you've been coming up with the study. And we dived into as well some of the tangible outcomes of the work that you're doing at Logica. As well as the pro bono work as well, which is really commendable. So Yeah, good work on everything you're doing there. I think that covers the discussion.
Thanks so much, Michael. Yeah, it's been great talking to you.
Yes. So yeah, hopefully have you back on the show soon to discuss more about the Idea Council and that. But thanks for being on the show. And thanks for the listeners out there as well. If you have liked what you've heard, please subscribe to the podcast and feel free to share it with others who might also find that helpful. So thank you, and thank you for listening to Now That's Significant.